MLS is back, boys and girls. And this week, we have 6 games that's going to be happening on the weekend and 6 games that's going to be happening in the midweek. And for some of these teams that's playing on the weekend, unfortunately, they have to also play in the midweek. And, despite the fact that MLS is back, and I'm pretty sure a lot of fans are happy to see their team play once again, I'm pretty sure a lot of teams are not happy the fact that it's back so soon, mainly because a lot of teams are missing players that is still on international duty, still are with their national team in the Gold Cup or Copa America, and that some of these coaches will need to make some adjustment in their lineup and some adjustment in the game plan in order to, of course, win those games. And, some of these teams that are missing some of these guys in international duty, oh yeah, they're very important player and are usually starters for this team, which is why I really think that for these next couple of weeks and for this match week 2, it is really a test of depth, and hope that you're one of those lucky teams that don't have most of your important player go to national team duty. And whoever, of course, have the best depth and had that kind of luck will most likely prevail in these next couple of weeks. But that being said, let us move into the first game, which is FC Cincinnati versus the Galaxy. Now, on paper, I know this game looks like a very one-sided kind of matchup because FC Cincinnati currently has the worst record and the worst point total in the league with only 11 points and a record of 3-2-11, while the Galaxy, currently second in the Western Conference, have a record of 9-1-6, but they're way back of their crosstown rival LAFC in terms of that top spot in the Western Conference, and they lost 2-1 to the Revs in their last league game. They also lost 4-0 on Wednesday against the Portland Timber in the U.S. Open Cup round of 16. Now, players on international duty for FC Cincinnati: Darren Maddox, Alvis Powell, Alan Cruz, Kendall Waston, and Welshman are all out in this game because of international duty. While for the Galaxy, Gonzalez, Atuna, JDS, and Felcher is going to be out for this game. And like I said, on paper, this looks like a very one-sided affair, and on paper, you would say that the Galaxy should be able to win this one. However, it is MLS, and we've seen crazy things has happened, and it's not like the Galaxy are a team that is completely healthy and that they are not missing some key players in their starting 11 due to international duty. Guys like Jonathan Dos Santos, Atuna, and Gonzalez are pretty key player in their starting 11, although that being said, FC Cincinnati is also going to be missing a lot of their starters with Maddox, Powell, Cruz, Waston, just regular starter with this team, not available for this one. And we already saw how when FC Cincinnati doesn't have their best starting 11, they're just as bad as when they do have their best starting 11. But like I said, it is MLS. Anything can happen. And, the Galaxy, we saw earlier in this season, or we saw throughout this season, that it seemed like you would think that they should win this game. We saw it against Colorado where you would think they would beat Colorado, and they lost that one. And it's the same thing with the New England game. You would think that they should have enough to beat New England. Nope, they lost that one at home. So, some of these games that you would think it's deemed to be a Galaxy win, it end up isn't the case. So, I guess maybe that's something that FC Cincinnati can kind of hold at, and the fact that they will have a home field advantage in this one. Maybe that will give them a little bit of an advantage. But moving on into the next match is Dallas. They play against TFC, and I call this the desperation derby because both of these teams are very desperate right now to get a win. Dallas, their record is 6-4-6, while TFC, their record is 5-4-6. Dallas, of course, drew 2-2 against the Quakes away, while TFC have not won a game since May 4th. Players on international duty for Dallas, Grizzo, Acosta, and Cannon will be out for this game because they're on international duty, while for TFC, Josie Altidore, Michael Bradley, Jonathan Osorio, Ashton Morgan, and Akulo are all out for this game. And I guess in terms of international duty, Dallas will definitely have the edge out of that one. The good news for Dallas in this game is that they are going to get most of their guys back from international duty that are with the US U20 World Cup. I mean, for the past couple of weeks, Dallas has been very depleted, not just because of injury, but also because of so many guys are currently with the US U20 team, which that of course happened when you decide to build most of your player in your squad is like under 20 kind of international player, and that now the good news, the fact that they're going to get those guys back, that should really kind of help out this team. Well, for TFC, yeah, they are going to miss, Altidore is definitely a big miss. Bradley and Osorio also a pretty big miss. I mean, they're going to have to hope that Pozuelo can really just somehow do it on his own, but we have seen so far this season that if you do not have Altidore and Pozuelo on the same pitch, TFC tends to really struggle. Although lately it seemed like when they do have them on the same pitch, it doesn't really make a lot of difference. And the fact that with TFC, them not doing very well on the road, and Dallas tends to do much better at home than they are doing on the road, I think Dallas has a chance to get a win in this game. But then again, I think both of these teams are very desperate to try to get at least a point or all 3 points, or actually just get all 3 points or a win in this game. I mean, both of these teams are really in danger of falling out the red line. TFC is literally right above the red line, and I think they're actually tied with a couple of teams that is below the red line. While Dallas, they did move up and inch themselves a little bit farther away from the red line. The points total doesn't say that. They're actually still kind of in danger of falling out of the red line. But moving on into the next match. From the desperation derby to the inconsistent derby. Chicago, they of course play against RSL, and the reason why I say this is an inconsistent derby is because both of these teams are two of the most inconsistent teams in the league. For RSL, it seemed like every time when they go on a winning streak, then they follow up with a losing streak. And it's the same thing for Chicago, although for Chicago, it's a team that on some days they look like the best team in the league, and then there are some days that they look like the worst team in the league. And so far in these last 4 games, it seemed like they look like the worst team in the league because they've been winless in 4 games. However, RSL have only won once on the road this season, and the road struggle continues this season. Players on international duty for Chicago: Francesco Calvo, Frankowski, Katai, and Mihailovic are all out for this game because of international duty. For RSL, Rusnak and Savarino are both out for this game because of international duty. And because this is an inconsistent derby, it's really hard to know who exactly is going to win because, well, you don't know if both of these sides, you don't know if Chicago is going to show their good side so that they can beat RSL, or they're going to show their bad side, which is just not doing anything during this game and potentially lose to RSL. And it's vice versa for RSL too. Although I will say this, I think I kind of will give the advantage towards Chicago in this game in terms of this inconsistent derby, because for Chicago, they're playing at home, so there's one advantage. And that they're facing against a team that just cannot win on the road, so that's another advantage. And in terms of international duty-wise, I think Chicago, despite the fact that they are missing more players on international duty than RSL are missing more key players due to international duty than Chicago is. I mean, Rusnak and Savarino, two of the key players on this attack, and 2 of the players that really kind of run this attack and pull strings on this attack. Now that they're not available in this game, yeah, that's going to be a little bit of a problem on the attack. But I think the big advantage has to be with the fact that RSL just cannot win on the road, and that Chicago probably will take advantage of that and get themselves a win. But then again, it's an inconsistent derby. Anything can happen in this game, and I won't be surprised if RSL does win this one if Chicago just decided to not show up in this game, as we have seen a couple of times this season. But moving on into the next match. And by the way, there's actually going to be 5 games that's going to be happening on Saturday, and there's going to be 1 game that's going to be happening on Sunday. And all 5 of these games on Saturday is going to be night game, and the Sunday one is going to be a late afternoon game in Columbus. But moving on into the next match, and I think this is probably the match that is probably the one that a lot of people kind of will pay attention to, and it's kind of like the marquee match of the week. And who would have thought that I would say Vancouver and Colorado would be the marquee match of the week at any part of this season? Like, with Vancouver, yes, they have started to kind of rebound, but they have shown some inconsistency lately. And for Colorado, well, we know their story of how they started this season 11 games without a win, and that it looked like this is just going to be, they're on verge of probably the worst season in MLS. And yet, here they are, only 4 points out of the playoffs, being one of the hottest team in the league, winning 4 out of the 5 games. While Vancouver, of course, drew 1-1 to TFC. But the Whitecaps have not played a game in a very long time. Like, this 1-1 draw against TFC was all the way back in May. They've gone almost 3.5 weeks now without playing a game. So, Russ will definitely be a little bit of a factor for Vancouver in this game. And also, guys that is going to be missing on international duty for Vancouver. They're going to miss their goalkeeper, Maxime Crepeau, which has been just one of the most important player in this team and have saved them so many times this season in terms of salvaging a point or getting all 3 points. Cornelius and Henry is going to be out for this game also. Talbot and Bangura are the other Vancouver player that's going to be out for this game. For Colorado, they are going to only have Jonathan Lewis out for this game, and I believe Colorado is the team that has the least amount of players that they're going to be missing in the starting 11 due to international duty. So obviously Colorado has the advantage in terms of international duty, and that they have a much fresher squad than Vancouver has. Although the bad news for the Rapids is that today there was a news that Courtney Ford is going to be out for the rest of the season, and that, that's obviously a big blow to them, considering the fact that they were hoping once Courtney Ford gets back in this team, this defense has been a little bit more stable. But that being said, I think they just got Abubakar in that defense a couple of weeks ago. So I think Abubakar is basically gonna just kind of play in that spot until Courtney Ford gets back. So I guess in some way it's not really a bad news, but at the same time, you never want to see one of your own player go down and have to have knee surgery so that he cannot play for the rest of the season. But yeah, I mean, this is definitely a very interesting kind of game. I mean, the Rapids, although they have not been very good on the road, and most of the wins that they have at home most of the wins that they have got so far has come at home. Colorado did beat Vancouver last season on the road, and that was actually the only wins that they had on the road last season. So you never know. And again, knowing the fact that Colorado has the advantage in terms of international duty, and the fact that you don't know how this Vancouver team will look like, the fact that they haven't played in a very long time, yeah, this is definitely going to be an interesting one. And for once, I'm actually favoring Colorado in this game. Like, there's not a lot of match where I would say the Rapids are favorites coming into this one, but knowing their form and the way that Vancouver hasn't played a very long time, and the fact that they're going to miss more guys on international duty than what the Rapids have, I think Colorado has a bit of an advantage in this one. But moving on into the next match, and to the final match of Saturday action, is Portland. So the Timbers, they're dead last in the Western Conference with 4-2-7 record, but don't let that record and don't let where they are in the standing fool you of the fact that this team is a very dangerous team to play against. Well, they're playing against Houston that have a record of 7-3-3, and I believe they're currently 4th in the Western Conference. Portland did lose to LAFC at home in their last league match 3-2, but on Wednesday, they absolutely destroyed the Galaxy 4-0 at home. While Houston, of course, drew 1-1 to SKC. For Portland, only 2 guys going to be out on international duty. Flores and Polo will be out for international duty in this game. While for Houston, Serin, Kyoto, Elise, and Figueroa is going to be out for this game for Houston. And there is no doubt that Portland is heavy favorites coming into this game. And like I said, don't look at the standings of where Portland is. That would define how how their season has been, this team is going to be a very dangerous team going forward, and that this team is going to be literally like DC United last season, where they're going to have this crazy resurgence in the second half of the season because of all those home games. And the fact that they're playing against a Houston team that not only they have not looked good lately, and that they have once again struggle on the road as it has been for the last couple of seasons, but they're going to miss Kyoto and Elise in this game. And these two players, like we've seen so far this season, whenever Houston does not have Elise on the pitch, yeah, this team really struggles going forward. And that now that they're not only not going to have Elise, but also not going to have Kyoto in that starting 11, I really fear for Houston in terms of what they can do on the attack, and that this Portland team, with the way that I think they're probably the team that is probably the most luckiest team besides LAFC to not have their biggest star to be going on international duty. I have a feeling that the Timbers should be able to walk away with all 3 points in this one. But moving on into the final game of this weekend, and the only Sunday game from this weekend, is Columbus. They play against Sporting KC. So Columbus, their record is 5-2-9, and Sporting KC, their record is 3-7-5. Columbus, they only have 1 win in 11 games. We know how bad things have gone for Columbus. While for Sporting KC, you know, their season hasn't been off to a great start, and a lot of that has to do with the injuries that they've been having, and that now they're starting to get some of their guys back, only to know that they're going to miss some of these guys to international duty coming into this game, but of course we'll get to that. But they drew 2-2 against TFC away, and in a game that, while they did get a point away, it was a game where they should have got 3 points, and that they concede a 94-minute equalizer for TFC to drop 2 points in that game. So yeah, that is one of those games that they will really be kicking themselves in the fact that it's not really a point gain on the road, but feels more like 2 points drop on the road. Player on international duty for Columbus, Will Trapp, Zardes, and Mensah are all out in this game because of international duty. While for SKC, Namath, Barev, Hasler, and Russell is going to be all out for this game because of international duty. And when you look at this match, you know, like the Chicago versus RSL game, this one is pretty hard to call too, because on one hand you have a Columbus team that is struggling so far this season, and a team that just cannot score right now, and they're facing against an SKC team that once again is depleted because of guys that is currently on international duty. So I won't be surprised if this game ends in a draw. Like, the only thing I can see this game could happen is that it could be a draw, but I know for a fact that Sporting KC desperately need the points in this. Like, you know, if this team is going to get to the playoffs and trying to shake off their rough start that they have in the beginning of the season, and I'm not saying that Sporting KC are out of the playoff picture. I mean, they're right there along with a couple of teams that is fighting for spots to go above the red line, but eventually they're going to have to get it going, and that let's just hope that Sporting KC is not going to be like TFC last year, where a team that goes deep into CCL, then eventually they suffer a lot of injury, and those injuries continue to pile up, and they just never got it going in the second half. That is what I really fear about Sporting KC right now, although I have a feeling that it should be different. I think that once Sporting KC and once Peter Vermees does get a lot of these guys back from international duty, and also from the injury crisis that they suffer back in May, I think this team should be competitive again. But that being said, a win in this game against a lowly Columbus side will really help their cases in terms of trying to go above the red line. But that being said, that is pretty much it for all the games that I preview for the weekend games in MLS Matchweek number 16. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and if you do, make sure you guys leave a like, smash that subscribe button. Let me know in the comments below what do you think of all 6 of these games, and make sure you leave your prediction below of all 6 of these games. And yeah, hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I will see you guys next time.